This tutorial is going to be done like a task analysis. There are three main tasks I want you to be able to do by the end of this tutorial. One, you should be able to tag moments, and there are two different types of buttons we're going to go over. The second thing you should be able to do is you should be able to add a comment or note onto any tagged moments. And the third thing you should be able to do at the end of this video is to alter the length and location of a tagged moment. All right, let's get started. All of your videos are on the left-hand side when you log into Vosaic. You'll click Watch and mark up the video when you are ready to start. Before we get started with this little tutorial, let's go over this working space. Your video is going to be up over here in the upper left-hand corner. Below that is called your timeline. And then on the right-hand side, you can toggle between the form, which are the buttons that are created for you to tag, and any already previously tagged moments. So if I click on moments, it'll switch me over from the form to show me any moments I've already tagged. All right, let's get started. Task 1 is to be able to tag moments in the video. You'll see I have two different types of code buttons here. My regular code button is rectangular, and this is one that I can program ahead of time to have a specific duration. So if I click on this edit button over here, you'll see that I have this set with a 4-second lead time and a 4-second lag time. I can completely customize this. One of the benefits of lead and lag time is that sometimes when I notice something in my video, I don't capture it, I'm not clicking on this code button when that moment first started. For example, teacher prompt. When a teacher is giving a prompt to a student, whether it's asking a question or making a request, sometimes by the time I've noticed it and clicked the button, a few seconds has already passed. Having that lead time means when I click my button, it is actually going to capture some seconds before that click. So let's practice tagging that. I'm going to scrub my, just so you can see it a little bit easier in my timeline, I'm going to fast forward into the video a little bit over here. So when I'm pushing play, let's say I'm watching for the teacher to give a prompt. There is my prompt. I'm going to click it right there. Notice how I only have to click this button once. I'm going to pause my video. You'll see underneath here it created an instance in my timeline that is exactly 8 seconds long because it had 4 seconds before my click and 4 seconds after my click. Sometimes though, when we're looking for things in a video, we don't know how long an instance is going to be. A prompt is generally pretty short, but something like a teacher explanation might have a lot of variability to how long that will take. So this is another kind of button, and it's curved like this. This is called a toggle button. This means I will have to manually turn it on and turn it off. So to tag this one, I'm playing and watching my video again. I click it once to turn it on, and you can see right now that my code is running. I'll let that play for a little bit because you can see down in my timeline that instance is populating as long as my code is running. Okay, so I'm going to let that go just a few seconds longer, and let's say the explanation is over right now. I click it again. Now I have the instance in my timeline. I'll pause my video for a second. At this point, you should be able to tag with two different types of code buttons. You should be able to tag the ones that have auto duration, like this teacher prompt. That means that whoever made the form set it with auto lead and lag time. And you should also be able to turn a code on and off, and those are our rounded codes over here. The second task is to be able to add a comment. It's great that we can tag moments, but we also want to be able to talk about them, especially if we're working with other people. We want to be able to share our thoughts about why we tag those moments. So up here on the right-hand side, you'll see we're on the form right now. I can actually toggle back and forth between seeing my form and seeing the tagged moments that I already have. That means I can see them on a timeline, but I can also just see them listed here. So I have one moment tagged in teacher prompt and one in teacher explanation. When I click on them, I can choose to just play those moments right there from here. And you'll see that there's a place for me to add a note. So if I click add note, this is where I can add my note. And I have to make sure I push save. It's as simple as that. Look what happened when I added a note on my timeline. There's a little yellow bar underneath it at this point. That tells another viewer that that particular instance has a note attached to it that can be viewed over here. I'm actually going to do one more thing. I'm going to scrub this a little farther ahead, and go back to my form and tag just a couple more moments in this timeline here, because I want to show you when you're adding some of your notes, after you've tagged your moments, sometimes it's easier to go back, rewatch before you add your notes. So let's go back to moments. You'll see now I have 3 under teacher prompt. I have a few options. I can look at them all individually by playing them, or if I push this play all button, it's going to play over here. It'll play this first one, and watch what happens to my playhead when that one ends. The 8 seconds are up, and you'll see it's going to skip ahead to the next one and just play the things I tagged. Makes it a little bit easier to share your findings with other people and to go back and add your own notes. Save. All right, so now at this point you should be able to do 2 things. You should be able to tag with 2 different types of buttons, and you should be able to add notes to any of your tagged moments over here. I want to show you that you can also add notes by clicking on the moment at the bottom. It'll play for you when you click on your timeline, and you can click this button here that will also let you add a note. So it'll tell you which code it's under. You can add and save your note, and then it will also show up over here. So note 2, save, and it's going to put it right over here under moments. The last thing on the task analysis for today is to be able to adjust the length and location of some of your tagged moments. Sometimes we captured a moment and we realized maybe we didn't capture the entire thing, or we kept a code running for too long, so we need to be able to adjust the length. When I point to a moment on my timeline, you'll see that there are these little yellow arrows that appear. That allows me to extend it in either direction, the length of that instance. It's as simple as that. If you find that when you point at something you don't see any arrows, sometimes this happens with our with the auto length codes. Like if it's just a little bit too short, those arrows don't always appear. If that's the case, you need to zoom into your timeline. Keep in mind you can't just use your trackpad to zoom in. If I zoom in with my trackpad, watch what happens. It zooms in on the whole web screen. So that's not going to help me zoom into my timeline. Instead, you're going to use the built-in feature into Vosaic. It says drag to zoom. If I click and drag it backwards, I can zoom into my timeline down here. Now, I'm going to pause the video. Sometimes things get a little funky if the video continues to play. I'm zoomed in. Now that I'm zoomed in, that moment that was too short is stretched out among the timeline, and I can actually grab and stretch it out. All right, and it will automatically play back to me so I can check that I got the right length. That's one way you might want to adjust your pre-tagged moments. The other thing is, what if it was the right length, but it was not, it's just not quite on the right part of my timeline. Let's say I just missed the beginning of it. I can actually just click and drag it backwards too. Oops, I'm clicking on my playhead, hold on. I can click on a moment and I can drag it around on my timeline as well. So those are 2 different ways I can adjust them. All right, this was a quick tutorial video. You should now be able to do 3 things that you could check yourself. 1, you should be able to tag moments in your timeline. 2, you should be able to add comments. And 3, you should be able to adjust the length of the instance and move them around on your timeline row.